All right, so lesson 1.8. For the first one, I am thinking 33% is about a third, 59 is about 60, a third is 60, off the top of my head is about 20. I might try for that one. The second one is close to 100, a quarter of 100 is 25. Yeah, this one, now again, I should be writing this down, so I'm going to write something down here. For this one here, 2%, well, 1% is easier. 1% is 1 out of 100. Of 150 would be 1.5, and then I want 2 of those, which would be 3. So sometimes my estimates involve a couple of stages. I can't necessarily do it in one shot. So that's one way I might do it. Another way is thinking about 2% as 2 out of 100. And I want to do that out of 150. And then I can kind of break off here and think about, well, 150 divided by 100, that's just a decimal shift. That's just 1.5. So this is another way to think. 2 times 1.5 or 3 would be a good estimate. Here's another way to think about that. Earlier, I was saying instead of 2%, I like 1% better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the 1% here, and the 2, I'm just going to think about doubling this. If I double 150, I get 300. So 1% of 300, since 1% is 1 out of 100, should be 3. Could I find other ways to do it? Probably. But those are 3 slightly different ways that are all related because they give me the same answer. And so your goal on these here is to try and come up with a couple of different ways without using a calculator to come up with an estimate. So I just had another idea inspired by Anthony for the first one here. So I was thinking 33% is a third, and a third of 59, well, a third of 60 would be 20, so this should be a little less, so why not say it's about 19? Yeah.
It's a little more, a little less.
Yeah. So again, often estimates involve a couple of different stages when you're messing around. Sometimes you can do it in one shot. So here I was kind of thinking around that way to come up with that estimate. And another thing, the first time I do math, it's generally a little messy, right? And that's okay. All right, what might I do with this one? Well, a 0.5% is a little bit tricky. So instead, I might think of it as 1%. And 1% I know is just 1 out of 100, or 100th written as a decimal, 0.01. So dividing by 100 basically means shift the decimal point over. So this is about 0.1459. Now, you know, I could just think about it as 0.14. And what's the difference between 1% and a 0.5%? Well, a 0.5% is half of it, right? Half of 14 is, on a good day, 7. So then this should be about 0.07 is an estimate of that right there. Right. So again, estimate means try something without using a calculator. So what could I do here without using a calculator? Now, this number is really a little bigger than 1400ths. So 700ths isn't quite right. So maybe the answer is more like 800ths, or maybe the answer is more like 0.7, let's see, half of 59 would be 0.7475. I was thinking 0.073 maybe, because 59 is about 60, half of 60 would be 30.
I think I put
so there's
1% is 1.495, obviously. Because
Um,
100 equals 1495.
So slow down, 1% is 1 out of 100. So if I were to divide this by 100,
Oh, yeah, I missed the fucking guess.
yeah.
Excuse me.
That was a cough.
I
Do you need a cough drop, Tony? 0.1495. All right. Yeah, so 10% would shift the decimal once, but 100% shifts the decimal twice.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about one.
Yeah, and so there's a bunch of different ways to guess at it. So again, the goal here is to come up with some ways to try and estimate doing things we can do on paper that aren't too hard, or in our head that's not too hard. So there's lots of ways to approach that one. So again, I made a guess. It wasn't a good guess because, you know, I want half of that. So this is my first guess, the 0.1459. I refined my guess by cutting it in half. And then I refined my guess again by considering the stuff I ignored. Okay.